Hey guys, today I show you how to paint skin tones with watercolor and color pencils. Many young artists seem to think that painting skin tones is different from, for example, painting fur, clothes or landscape, but for me it isn't. Everything I paint and draw is just color that I apply in shapes and layers on my canvas or paper. Although I have a certain technique to paint skin tones, this technique has a lot in common with how I paint everything else. For me, training the eye to see colors and values, staying true to proportions, and thinking in forms and shapes instead of lines are the skills that an artist has to master. So I'm going to share with you my technique on how I paint skin tones, but also everything else. With watercolors, you have to paint in layers. Depending on how realistic and refined your portrait should look, you will need more or less layers. For darker skin tones like in this painting, you will need more layers than you would need for lighter skin tones. So pay extra attention to the values and be careful to not get too dark, because you can't undo it. For blending watercolors, you have two possibilities. You can either wet an area with water or light paint and then add color to it so that it will bleed and spread inside this area. Or you can lay down your paint, take a clean wet brush, go quickly along the edges of your wet paint, and it will bleed into the water that you just added with your brush. Expand that waterline as much as you want to get an even smoother gradient. After I lay down the basic undertones of my portrait, I switch to color pencils. You don't have to do that though. You can paint your portrait entirely with watercolors or color pencils. This is just my personal taste because I have more control over the details when I use color pencils. Speaking of which, I draw with Polychromos and Luminance color pencils. Luminance are wax-based pencils and I use them to add an extra layer of wax on top of the pigments to blend them together. They are super opaque and by applying a white coat over other colors, the smooth grayish result looks a lot like real skin. To be able to mimic the exact color of the skin, I recommend a bunch of earthy tones from Polychromos. You can find them along with a list of all my materials down in the description of the video. When I need to correct the values, for example, a larger area isn't dark enough, I switch back to watercolors. I repeat this process until I'm happy with the results. I also like to add colors that I don't find in my reference. Usually, I add complementary colors to the skin, but also to other parts of my painting. Almost like an interfering signal. In real life, there are a lot more colors than our cameras are able to catch. The hot red of the poppies I paint with acrylic ink. I use aero colors from Schminke. To finish my portrait, I check edges, details like lips, nostrils and eyes and see if I can raise the contrast of the whole drawing to make it more appealing. To achieve this, I go back from my easel, squint my eyes and compare my painting to the reference. But don't be too critical. It is impossible to get the exact brightness and saturation that you can see on your laptop. The screen is a lit device and the paper isn't, so it will never be as perfect and shouldn't. The charm of watercolor is the beautiful pattern that it creates on your paper. Don't kill it! I sometimes overdo my paintings, but I always try to keep some of the abstractions. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel. For in-depth painting tutorials, head over to my Patreon page and select the $5 reward tier. You get instant access to over 30 painting tutorials, which you can download, insights into my work in progress, helpful art material posts, and I answer all of your questions. For $10 a month, you get exclusive access to my live stream and real-time painting videos. For $15 and more, you get beautiful art surprises, fine art prints, original watercolor illustrations, and much more.